Some breaking news here. You're looking at live shots of the streets in Hamburg, Germany, where protests are getting more heated, getting violent. There have been reports of protesters torching cars and blocking roads as German authorities have had to call in reinforcements to control running street battles. And of course, this is as leaders of the world's biggest economy began their discussions. So we'll continue to monitor all these headlines and all the pictures for you. Again, some fire there in the streets as protesters gather. This is a continuation of the demonstrations we saw yesterday.
Yeah, we saw the same thing last night. Welcome to hell is apparently the theme of these protests. No real sense of numbers out there on the streets right now. It's very difficult to tell when you're showing pictures like this because my experience of being involved in these is you can look several streets out and actually everything's very calm. So we do have to be a bit cautious about what we're seeing here. But the use of Molotov cocktails as well reported earlier, and obviously the police were using water cannons yesterday to try and suppress some of the violence that was taking place.
According to police, by Friday evening in Hamburg, at least 175 officers and many protesters were reported injured. And of course, this is a cumulative number here since the protests began last Thursday or late Thursday, and about 100 protesters have been arrested. So again, live scenes there from Hamburg, Germany, where global leaders are meeting.
And of course, this comes in the wake, just for some context, we had the Trump-Putin meeting earlier today. People had expected it to be kind of quick, half an hour. Instead, it went about 2 hours. Some conflicting reports, perhaps, on what was agreed to and what wasn't agreed to about how the two parties saw various things, including the question of hacking during the U.S. election.
Yes,
so one of the more, it's interesting that there are all these protests amid one of the more sort of anticipated G20s in quite a long time.
Yeah, I think your point on that, Foreign Minister Lavrov's comments that Trump accepted Putin's assurances that there was no election hacking, that coming from the Foreign Minister of Russia. And it was quite interesting because we were talking to John Micklethwaite earlier, and he was suggesting that the things that get talked about in the meetings, not necessarily what's discussed afterwards.
Yes.
The importance level of
the
what's
headlines
discussed.
can be misleading.
Precisely. Anyway, let's get back to the top story of the day and just refresh what we were discussing there. President Donald Trump's lengthy meeting, of course, with the Russian President Vladimir Putin, the first ever face-to-face at that summit in Hamburg.